Hello, good evening, and welcome to another exciting edition of BOI Impact. I am Hadiza Olaosebikan. In recognition of the crucial role the creative industry plays in Nigeria's economy, especially regarding job and wealth creation, the Bank of Industry has continued to deploy its financial and business advisory support for the industry in general and the movie subsector in particular that is emerging as Nigeria's leading export to the global market. Please recall that in previous editions, we brought you some of the initiatives and projects that the bank has supported in the creative industry. They include the cultural component of the New World Nigeria Investment Campaign during the London 2012 Olympics, the bank's financial support for the movie Half of a Yellow Sun, adapted from the book written by our own Chimamanda Adichie, another film titled The Flower Girl. Aside from content, BOI has been assisting viable ventures in the exposition and distribution value chain of the movie industry. The Film House Cinema in Lagos and other parts of the country, as well as Silverbird Cinema and G Media House, which is a mega film distribution company, have also enjoyed BOI support. In order to step up BOI support for Nigeria's movie industry and after due consultation with some leading stakeholders in the business, the bank recently launched a financial product, NollyFund. Towards ensuring successful implementation of NollyFund, BOI has continued to engage with key players in the movie industry, and recently, the bank met with a cross-section of them at its Lagos head office along the marina. And still on the bank's support for the movie industry, one of its assisted projects, Viva Cinema, located within the ShopRite complex in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, was commissioned a few weeks ago. On tonight's program, we shall start with a meeting between BOI's management and the movie industry leaders, during which the managing director of BOI, Mr. Rasheed Olaoluwa, interacted with the creative practitioners. Enjoy their dialogue. As part of BOI's desire to sustain financial and technical assistance given to the entertainment industry, the bank recently held an interactive session with members of Nollywood Fund Implementation Advisory Committee that includes various practitioners in the entertainment industry. Chairing the meeting, the MD of BOI, Mr. Rasheed Olaoluwa, emphasized on the need to restructure the Nigerian entertainment industry to be competitive in the global arena.
At BOI, we are the leading development finance institution in Nigeria, and therefore it's an imperative that we also play a role, in supporting that sector. And in terms of supporting this sector, we are looking at not just movie production, we're also looking at how can we establish a world-class movie studio. I'm aware that there are a number of movies that are produced and post-production takes place outside the country. There's no reason why we can't acquire the facilities required to do them locally. The other issue we're looking at is, the piracy issue. It's about intellectual property, right enforcement. How can we use technology, to at least partially ameliorate this problem? This is where you now come to talk about electronic platforms, digital rights distribution, and so on and so forth. So we have been debating, internally to say how can we at least play a catalytic role, because the role of a development bank is to lead the way for other commercial banks to follow. Commercial banks haven't found a way to commercially support the sector, but we as a development bank, we need to take the first step, make it work, and then it will now serve as an example, for commercial banks to emulate. And this is where the role of this committee or this group, becomes really very key. In terms of how can you assist us to ensure that every movie we support becomes successful. The more successes we record, the more funding comes to the sector. The initial amount of the loan of the fund is 1 billion. But that's just a stepping stone. That's just a starting point. We can escalate it to 2 billion, to 5 billion. And in addition to that, the commercial banking sector can also follow suit. Once they realize that, hey, there is money to be made here, everybody will come in. And there's also a structure that works. The structure we have come up with, we've had to, do some kind of research into how movies are funded. In Nollywood, in Hollywood in US, how movies are funded in Bollywood in India, and we also customized all the things we learned, to be able to get the structure we are using for NollyFund. Essentially, is about how can we attract and monitor the cash flows, that derive from the movies through the cinemas. And luckily, in Nigeria today, we're growing more and more numbers of cinemas. I mean, we have Film House here. There is Silverbird. Tomorrow, one of my colleagues will be in Ilorin at the commissioning of Viva. There's also Genesis. So it's also spreading, and that will also increase the revenue base.
Committee members also bared their minds on various issues affecting development of the creative industry in the country.
We have gone around many years, and what we always receive is that we don't have anything on ground to measure this industry, so we don't think we can support this industry. Even when some of us accessed money from Bank of Industry, we didn't get any bank to issue bank guarantee. They said we can't measure the industry because the fact is that there was no foundation. It's an informal business that you are trying now to venture into it and see whether you can help us formalize it. One of the challenges I believe that BOI can help us address is that most of the people, the mainstream creative industry or movie industry, that when you see them, they are big names, but they don't have company. Most of them, you'll be surprised, their company is registered only on screen. They don't have any structure, not even account in the bank. Because it's two businesses which join together, show and the business. Most of us due to the show, and we left the business. So I believe that BOI can help us arrange a special training for these people that are gathered, so that they will understand what BOI is meant for and what they are trying to address.
One of the things you mentioned in your address was on piracy. Now, you did mention the digital aspect of piracy, but there is in the laws that we have on piracy. I mean, there's a need for enforcement of those laws, but there are in the small print of those laws some things that militate against, that make it difficult for enforcement. So I don't know how we can, with the help of your legal department, try and have a look at those areas so that we can go ahead with enforcement. I believe that once we carry out enforcement, half the battle is won.
Does it require like an amendment to the law?
Yeah, there will be need for an amendment for that. Yes.
I am a little bit concerned about the industry in another way, and I think the Bank of Industry will have a role to play here. For quite a while now, we have worked on a law, a draft law, for the creation of MOPICON or MOPCON, which is the Motion Picture Practitioners Council of Nigeria, and it has not been able to see the light of the day due to all kinds of variables that's better known by civil servants. I strongly believe that Mopicon coming on board will really help what we're trying to do. Why do I think so? As an industry, there is no benchmark for entry into the industry. There's no control. It is everybody's business, and people can just crash into the industry. People that are not trained, that are wax, can become practitioners, and there's nothing you can do because there's no law protecting this industry.
There's no regulation.
There's no regulation.
I think that it's a good thing to encourage a production of movies, but what we should be doing, and what I think BOI should do speedily as we are working on this, is to encourage the development of the distribution structures. And the distribution that I'm talking here is not the direct-to-DVD distribution, but I'm talking about we need more cinema outlets.
I agree with you.
Completely, and the kind of cinema outlets that I talk about, yes, we could have the big ones, but we need to begin to develop community viewing centers that are within the community there and that are managed by the people within that community. And presently we have viewing centers that sit 50 people, but they are not proper viewing centers. I can't go there to watch films because of the way they are. But if we could partner with, if we could encourage investment in that area, then the other aspect too that I really want to support is that we can, if you fund movies, you have the cinemas. After they finish from cinemas and they need to be distributed by G Media and the rest, the pirates will just be waiting for the next copy. And we can minimize piracy in the country. It's just the commitment. I wish we could just lift your values to those in charge of copyright administration in the country and those in charge of film administration in the country.
There's a proposal something that I propose. I propose what I call a strategic meeting, or let me call it an ASMP, a strategic meeting point. We need to have a strategic meeting point. Call it a 1 day, call it a 2 day seminar with culture and tourism, with the Ministry of Education, with all that. You know why? We need to have opposition from there. We need to adopt the American experience. In America, you make a movie. I was trying to explain to some of my colleagues here. Each time you see NYPD in a movie, it's paid for, directly or indirectly. Each time you see FBI in a movie, directly or indirectly, you get rewarded for it. Each time you see an American flag in a movie, directly or indirectly, you get rewarded for it. It doesn't come like that. So, with culture and tourism, when we do such meeting, even get the police involved, get the army involved. The army need to tell us. We need to have a pact with them where they will let us have access to all the armory to make movies from a positive point of view about the Nigerian army, the gallant nature of Nigerian army. We need to tell people how our police are, the positive points from our police.
I'd like to echo my colleagues' gratitude in putting this whole project together. I think that's a huge step in the development of the industry. Of late, especially post the election and how peaceful Nigeria is, I can say Hollywood is coming, and when they come in and we're not prepared, it's not going to look well. We want a situation where whoever comes, when they come, we're prepared, so please, that training is very important. It's crucial to everything. The cost of setting up a cinema is huge, and the change in foreign exchange rate affects us a lot because a lot of what we bring in imported
Equipment.
Yes. So if there's a way we can, or you can provide intervention to say the customs to get some kind of custom duty waiver, even if it's for 5 years.
What's the current duty rate?
It's not fixed, but I tell you our experience, because when you go through the HS codes, everything has different rates. But when you bring that projector in and they come in different parts, they just bundle everything and say 20-25%, and we have to pay it. So it's even the customs, they also need to understand I know the distributors, when we bring in films from overseas and they see a film reel or they see a hard drive, all sorts of issues. In fact, sometimes films that are supposed to be released on Friday are delayed because the customs have seized it because of lack of knowledge. For lack of knowledge, people perish. And that affects everybody's numbers. So I really think that training is hugely important, for the whole industry.
After listening to the committee members, it was agreed that a total restructuring and capacity building is needed to move the industry forward. After the meeting, we sought the opinions of the MD of BOI and some committee members on this laudable initiative.
What we're trying to do is to ensure that we find a good structure, for providing financial support, to the industry. I know that many commercial banks have shied away from extending loans and advances to players in the industry because of the fact that it's unstructured. So having studied the typical structure that is used by financial institutions in the United States, in Europe, even in Bollywood, in India, we came up with a structure that we thought should be able to work, but we needed to have the insights, of industry practitioners, people who understand the dynamics of the industry. So BOI is going to be placing a lot of reliance on these eminent Nigerians, as we evaluate proposals,